quickly introduce our guest speaker. We're really excited to have her. I think it's a very opportune time right now with all that's going on in the talent space, just to talk about some of the issues that she will be speaking into and unpacking with our talent task force this morning. So Dr. Carrie Graham, she is the owner and founder for, I'm so sorry, is it COG
COG.
Learning and Solutions?
Mhm.
Correct. Okay, COG Learning and Solutions. And she's actually spent 25 years of her short life to enhancing employee experience and client performance through different and really innovative, dynamic type training programs. She really specializes in training really customized plans that really align with your specific business and just helping you guys really drive those measurable ROI with those results at the end of the day so that you can reduce stress and increase efficiency. So, Carrie, I'm going to kick it over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Kendall, for that introduction. I appreciate it. And all of you that have taken time to join today on this little bit gray, chilly morning, thank you for joining me. Um, Molly, if you could go to the next slide. So I am here today to share information with you. And in hopes, my personal motivation is hoping that it gets you thinking differently about the work that you do. When we think about training and development, there's three key business challenges happening right now, and I'm curious if you are experiencing these. So, and these are nationwide. There's the challenge of skilling your workforce and low retention. And particularly the things that contribute to that is you've got an aging population who are retiring, and there is, that tacit learning, that tacit knowledge that they have, and it's being lost. But there's also that technology skills gap. You've got young professionals entering your workforce who have the technology piece, but they may not have some of the soft skills as well. And that combination of both actually are contributing as well to employee turnover rate, high employee turnover rates. The next business challenge that is on the rise, or predicted to be on the rise for 2025, is this misaligned organizational culture. And what that means very clearly is the training in particular is not aligned with the vision of the organization. So you see this when you have participants sort of mumbling, employees and workforce mumbling that they have to go to another training. Oh, it doesn't really apply to the work that we do. So there's a misalignment in the training compared to the vision, and there's a disconnection of the leadership. I'd be curious to know how many of your organizational leaders, whether it's the executives, the C-suite, upper management, actually attend or have a voice in the training as it's being facilitated. What's the culture, your organizational culture around alignment? And then the last thing is there's an unfocused adult learning strategy, if there's an adult learning strategy at all. Oftentimes, businesses focus on providing training, 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 but there's very little attention being given to the individuals as learners. And that is, in fact, what my work is in, but looking at what is the workforce truly need. They no longer need bells and whistles and trending hacks, but rather they benefit from a clear strategy. So it's not having the focus strategy. Thank you, Molly, for going to the next slide. So with that, one of the solutions and my work is around this, is establishing a clear strategy from learning, not for training, because training is the giving of the information, but of learning. And how do we blend the training that you need to present to them with supporting their learning? So there's two elements to that help focus that. that initiative. It's the redefining the culture around training and learning, right? So how does our leadership view training and learning? But also, are we prioritizing the adult learner's experience during the training? Are we making those investments, right? So if we're going to use AI, there's a significant learning curve for many people with AI. And so to say you're going to use it in your training, you're not accounting for the learning curve element of it. And below that are some ways in which you can support the redefining the culture as well as prioritizing the experience. Molly, if you go to the next slide, please. So when you think about a learning strategy that's customized to your particular organization and your organization's needs, these are some of the benefits. And many employees nationwide that have been polled are saying these are the benefits. So there are benefits for the employees. There's also that organizational piece. Oftentimes businesses are looking for a workforce that's innovative, that they are productive, right? Whether it's in managing time or creating a product and service. But there's also that enhancement of soft skills. And if we make that connection to this new generation of Gen Z and soon to be Generation Alpha, that really needs support around soft skills, having a learning strategy ensures that you do that. There's also the increase in employee trust. When you think about employee retention and how do you combat employee retention and that decrease your numbers around turnover, increasing trust helps with that. And to that end as well, you've got this healthier employees, right? So building their confidence. I was sharing with someone yesterday, so often employees and people in general, we know what we want to do. We may even know how to do something, but if we don't have the confidence in our abilities, we are not going to do that, whatever the thing is, right? So in supporting employee confidence is also part of the strategy, and it lends itself to the innovation, the productivity, and safer work environments. And those things contribute to your competitive advantage as an organization. And that's what we're all looking for. So those are some of the added benefits of having a strategically designed and aligned learning strategy. Molly, next slide, please. Definitely people are going to ask the question, well, how long does this take? And so I'm presenting a bar graph of very general terms in weeks. So if your organization needs to support the training and the learning development for 200 plus employees, when we think about what does this process look like, we've got an assessment phase. We also have a design, the training strategy phase, and then an implementation and evaluation strategy phase. And so for larger organizations, that assessment of what currently exists, it takes on average 3 weeks, all hands on deck, very laser focused. Around the design, we're using that information that we gathered from the assessment in the design strategy. And then we also have that 5 weeks of implementation and evaluation strategy. I recognize that using an aggressive timeline is the way to get the ball moving. However, for smaller organizations, let's say 10 to 100 employees, those windows of time devoted to developing your strategy are shorter. It is the assessment 1 week, the design 2 weeks, with a 3.5 week implementation and evaluation. So I put this particular timeline on here because I recognize there are organizations across industries and across various sizes, and your size obviously and directly relates to what, in fact, you can, the breadth and the depth of the training that you need to put together. Next slide, Molly. So when we think about some use cases, in my work, I pulled together some cases that in the timeline strategy that I've used, the approach that I take. In the first case, with the training program alignment, that was an existing program that was outdated. They've on average have about 100 learners or adult learning users at any one given time, but the program was outdated and it needed to be updated to match industry trends, but also the learners, the users had evolved over time and the training wasn't accounting for their new needs. So there's that example. Another, the one in the middle with the three bubbles, the organization merger, that was a case where you had two very distinct programs, organizations, divisions that ended up blending, but they had a distinctly different approach to training and learning management. One left it to the employees. They were supported in doing their own development. The other organization focused and they had a culture of social learning. They were teaching one another. They were going in groups to various conferences and such. And so how do you blend those very distinctly different approaches? And in that regard, I encourage them to use a community of learning as a culture model. And in the last case, this one, the new hire training program, this is actually a growing business, exponentially growing, thriving business. However, they didn't have a clearly laid out training program. And so in this case, we took all of their information, their notes, their systems, and their knowledge, and strategically organized that so that any new hires to that organization had a very clear path. Across all of these, one of the things that's consistent is the time for learning was accelerated. In the first case with the training program alignment, the user's confidence was accelerated. And if you look at the change in their survey results, there was some built-in confidence there. In the merger, having that community of learning culture, it deepened the topics in which they were able to support and address and upskill for. And that's more of a socially based organization. And then the last one, they took their employees from months to onboard and really skill for the job to a matter of weeks. And what that did ultimately is it gave the director of the operations and the president back a significant amount of time. Molly, the next slide. So those are some approaches that I take, but more importantly, those are some common trends that are on the rise for this year that businesses are facing. There is, I know Kendall has a quiz at the a Mentimeter to gather some information about these particular topics. But those are some solutions. If you're looking to make some changes in your employee retention, turnover, upskilling, capturing information for retiring population, even pipeline building for new employees and future workforce, I encourage you to think about establishing a strategically designed training and learning plan. if you'd love to further the conversation to empower your business with a tailored training solution, I'm more than happy to meet with you either online. Here's a QR code to schedule a consultation